Welcome back. Now, Nedbank Commercial Banking says there is a need for policy and regulatory certainty. This, alongside access to funding, innovation and skills development, are set to revive the key manufacturing sector. The sector has experienced sluggish growth over the past 2 decades, but the bank says there is still room for hope. Amith Singh, National Manager of Manufacturing at Nedbank Commercial Banking, joins us now to unpack. Thank you so much for your time, Amith. Now, the manufacturing sector is a really important sector for economic growth in South Africa, but it has been in a steady decline over the last, few decades, really. Nedbank really plays a key role as a financier to manufacturers' needs to make things move. But what keeps your clients up at night?
Yeah, so first and foremost, Sonati, thanks for having me today. And as you rightfully said, the sector has been in decline for the last 2 decades. If you have a look back at the glory days, contributing almost 25 odd percent, a quarter of GDP to where we are now, has definitely been a great fall from grace. However, in saying that, some of the things that are keeping our clients up at night is definitely the policy uncertainty. We noticed that pre-elections there was a lot of noise, a lot of instability with regards to which direction is this country going to go into. Now that we have the cabinet in place, we have GNU in place. We're noticing some changes with regards to Eskom, the stability on the grid. Transnet has got a master plan in place. So, a lot of what has been keeping our clients up at night has been externally focused and matters that are somewhat out of their control. And I think it's now time to buckle down and put our focus back into our businesses itself, as opposed to the factors that we can't necessarily control. So I do believe it's exciting times ahead, despite the challenges we've had.
Keen to also then zone in on localization as a strategy here in South Africa. Amith, of course, we know that this is something that government has been focused on, actually, even though we've seen this period of deindustrialization. But there has been some pushback, with some thinking that it's not worth it for us to even try to compete with the likes of China, and that we should be looking at other sectors. I'm just keen to get your thoughts on that, and really being competitive in the manufacturing space.
Yeah, so there's a lot of disputes. It's such a debatable point. But we have a look at China. China had to start somewhere. India had to start somewhere. Rwanda had to start somewhere. And I think as a country, we need to stand for something within the manufacturing space and sector. We've got many pockets of excellence, clothing and textile, the automotive space. There's so many success stories that we have within the manufacturing space and sector. And I think we need to build on those success stories. We need to take the lessons from that and apply them to the other verticals within the manufacturing space and sector. Yes, China is a heavy hitter and a heavy player, but if you have a look at are they providing a good news story to the circular economy? Not. Are they necessarily exploiting staff and people? Probably are. I do believe as a country, if we grow our manufacturing sector responsibly, we'll be far more competitive within the space. And yes, it does require policy adjustment. It does require investment. But more above than policy and investment, we also need to appreciate the fact that we are on the levels, on great levels. We produce and manufacture world-class equipment, vehicles, etc. within South Africa. We need to stop attributing quality with the country and own our rightful place within South Africa.
You talk about these pockets of excellence, success, and the GNU in place. Of course, you do have a new minister there of trade, industry, and competition. Is the agenda for the manufacturing clear going forward in what is in terms of what we aim to achieve in the manufacturing sector?
So I think, Zanati, this is the challenge, and it's a very good point. So at this point in time, I don't think it's clear as a whole. If we have a look at manufacturing holistically, I don't think that it's clear. I think it's clear within certain verticals. If you have a look at certain master plans that are in place, the automotive master plan, you have a look at the textile plan, etc., etc. Those verticals have plans in place. Plastics, I can go into a whole other verticals that have plans. But I think what's really lacking is where do we want to play holistically as a manufacturing space and sector? Do we have a particular North Star? And I think that needs to be given to us in time for the private sector to respond appropriately. For us as financiers, to have clear direction and mitigate our lending and so on and so forth within the space. So, you know, I don't necessarily think that there's no direction. I do believe that there are green shoots, and now is a perfect and opportune time to water these green shoots so that we grow back to the levels that we used to be at. And I think, Zanati, we also got to appreciate the fact at the levels at 25, 23% that we were at the late 70s, early 80s, we showed that we were capable to do that, and we've got the propensity to do that. To getting back there should be an easier task as opposed to what it was way back then. And I do believe we definitely have the capabilities and the skills within our confines. Yes, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for development. But that's where us as banks, as financiers, need to be the conduit to the sector and the industry to bring this together to realize the South African manufacturing dream.
With that said, Amith, before we wrap, of course, as financiers, as bankers, just help us also understand maybe some where we are seeing green shoots, where you are seeing, demand for financing, where, certain verticals, industries that are bringing you to the table, asking you about possibly expanding or even getting started.
So I think the interesting point here is there's no particular subsector or vertical that's showing tremendous growth or something unnatural from a growth perspective. If I look back at COVID, pre or post-COVID rather, we saw the medical space that was booming, and that was for obvious reasons. When the Paris Agreement was signed, we saw the plastic industry booming. So, there is some seasonality within the manufacturing space and sector. However, the one space that we are seeing a lot happening across all verticals is diversification. We've seen companies, businesses, factories, manufacturers looking to diversify their plants, their production lines. They're looking to diversify their suppliers, their offtake agreements. And I think it's adding more depth to their businesses. We've seen recently with many challenges, with imports from Russia and the likes, that really hamstring businesses out there. And we've taken these lessons as Business South Africa, and we're trying to adapt and to mitigate the risk of any future incidents of this nature. So not necessarily sector specific, but more so width and depth within the current operations.
Well, we do have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights there, Amith. That was National Manager of Manufacturing at Nedbank Commercial Banking, Amith Singh.